Good evening, and welcome to another World of Warships video with Darkwing Glacier. In this battle, I am taking out my Tier 9 American battleship, the USS Missouri, and we are also in Tier 9 matchmaking, which is pretty rare for being in a Tier 9 ship. Usually you get stuck in a Tier 10 game and you're struggling to survive in that game against lots of Tier 10 ships. But the Missouri is a pretty good ship anyway, so you stand a good chance of doing rather well in Tier 10 games as well. But this time I'm fortunate to be able to get into Tier 9 matchmaking, so I will be facing Tier 7 ships as well as Tier 8s and Tier 9s. So I start the game relatively slowly. I decide that I'm going to edge towards sea, kind of get behind the cover of one of the islands, and see what I can do to support my team. Clearly, while the rest of the team is preparing for the battle, they are using their horns to amuse themselves. Unfortunately, one of our destroyers, the Kiev, appears to be AFK. Hopefully he's going to wake up soon. So I spot what might be my first target, the Leon on the other side. So I have AP loaded. I find that usually I use AP in my Missouri because I feel like I can just do more damage in that. And even though I am running the John Doe Captain, which used to be Steven Seagal, I can switch my shells from one type to another if I absolutely have to, but I tend to stick with AP in most situations. So I take a shot at that Kiev, which is hiding in the cap, and fortunately I do enough damage to kind of scare him out of there. The fact that we have a New Orleans in there already is probably the rest of the reason why he's leaving. And then I spot an Edinburgh who's foolishly showing a lot of broadside. Take a shot at him. And it looks like I'm going to get a hit there at least. There we go, a couple hits, do 10,000 damage. That's enough to get him to run for his life. But by this point I've been taking I've been gathering some attention from the enemy. They take some shots at me, which mostly bounce. At this point I realize, I'm kind of heading out into the open, and if I do that, if I get between the B and the C caps, I'm going to expose too much broadside to all of the enemy ships that are south of C, and I'm going to run into that enemy Missouri and perhaps the Belfast head on. So in the meantime, I take a shot at the Leon, and I'm fortunately able to get a Citadel, and he appears to be in serious trouble, so hopefully we can finish him off relatively quickly. Shots out. And looks like I didn't quite judge it right, a little bit too much lead, and overshot him just a tiny bit. So here I spot the Edinburgh starting to poke his nose out again. And I realize, maybe if I can sneak a shot on him, if he's foolish enough to show me broadside, I can take him out in one shot. But unfortunately, he turns away. I wait for him to get completely through the turn and fire at him on the other side. And I do a significant amount of damage, but again, it's not quite enough to kill him. So I see the Missouri on our other side. Now that I've gone reverse, I've exposed myself to him. He's probably going to take some shots at me. Yep, his turrets are aimed right at me. I'm going to be the recipient of a broadside from him. So I try to preempt that by taking some shots, which basically all miss. So then there are torpedoes coming at me from the port side, which is bad, but fortunately I am going forward again, so I'm able to only take one torpedo, and then I immediately kick off my repair party, and I'm hoping I can get behind this rock again before I take another broadside from the enemy Missouri. Fortunately, the next wave of torpedoes on my starboard side don't get me. But then here's Mr. Edinburgh again, sticking his nose out, but I do have one advantage, and that's my radar. So I'm going to line up all three turrets, see if I can illuminate him with the radar. Once I get past this island, radar up. There's the Edinburgh. Shots out. And that's kill number one. It's always very satisfying to catch one of the British cruisers when they show you full broadside and you're in a battleship. You can punish them pretty severely. So at this point I spot a New Orleans and the Minsk, and I think about shooting at the Minsk, but I realize he's backing up and I may not get a good enough shot at him before he gets behind that island. So I decided to shoot at the New Orleans instead. My shots end up being a little in front of him. Then I spot torpedoes off of my port bow, and I almost have a panic moment there. But fortunately, they're just out of steam, and I'm able to avoid getting hit by them. So now I'm running away from the enemy Missouri, who's right on my tail. I see an Algerie starting to poke his nose out. He's showing broadside. He's turning away. I see maybe I can damage him a little bit before he gets away. My friendly Izumo is right there with me. So I wait for him to... What I tend to do is when I see enemy cruisers turning away, I don't shoot at them while they're heading directly away. I wait for them to go a little bit around further so I can get a broadside shot on them, or at least more of a broadside. And that pays off, so I'm able to do a citadel and nearly kill him, and immediately I tell the rest of the team that this guy is severely damaged and they should focus fire on him, and he is then taken out by our shores. I think that's how you pronounce that. Yeah, it's one thing I tend to do is that if I'm, say, I guess, unfortunate enough to not finish off an enemy, I immediately tell the rest of my team, look, this guy is very weak. Let's just get him out, and I'm more concerned about getting the kill, well, that the team gets the kill than I am about getting my own. Here, our Izumo unfortunately blunders right in front of the Minsk. I fire some retaliatory shots right over the Izumo, and I get kill number 2. Unfortunately, the Minsk was able to launch both of his spreads of torpedoes, and he takes out the Izumo pretty nastily at close range. So at this point, I'm not very healthy right now. I'm only down to 17, well, just under 18,000 health, and I still have more than 30 seconds before my repair party is fixed, so I'm trying to just get some distance, hold my fire. Well, let's see if I do hold fire here. Nope, I take a shot anyway, hoping that no one's going to shoot at me. Of course, the Frederick the Great over by A does take a shot at me, but I'm well angled against him, so I don't take too much damage. But I got to get some health back up before I, die prematurely. But we are hurting the enemy team pretty bad. We are up, 6 ships to 3. So I spot this Monarch way far away, almost 22 kilometers, and I think, he's showing a lot of broadside. If I get some shots to fall right on top of him, I might be able to penetrate his deck, get some citadels, and finish this guy off. Unfortunately, I just get one penetrating hit there, one overpen, and a bounce, which is rather disappointing, but considering the fact that he is 22 kilometers away, that's not too surprising. I eye this Missouri, but he's behind the island. I realize my guns are ready again. That Monarch is still there. So at a range of 22.8 kilometers, I fire another broadside. This is almost just a couple hundred meters under the extreme of my range. But maybe I'll get a lucky hit here. And guess what? I do. That's kill number 3. I know from my own experience in the Monarch that it does not have the best armor in the world. In fact, the armor is pretty bad. So I take advantage of that on the other side, and I take him out. Now, shots out against the New Orleans, who's kind of coming in and out of detection. I don't expect that I'm going to hit him very well. I see this Missouri starting to come out from behind the island. I realize that he's broadside to me. Well, he's starting to turn away now, but he was broadside. If I was a little more patient, I might have gotten a very good shot on him. Now the enemy only has 5 ships, and our Yugumo gets a nice torpedo spread against that Missouri and finishes him off. So I'm eyeing my next target, the enemy New Orleans. I wait till I come out from behind the island, and shots out, just as he goes, or he fades out again into obscurity. And all my shots miss. That Kiev looks like a tempting target, but unfortunately he's right behind the island there. So it looks like the enemy Yugumo was detecting me now. I take some shots at him. Shots out, but it looks like it's just a little bit too late as one of my teammates is able to kill him. I spot the enemy Frederick the Great starting to close in. It's kind of late in the game for him to be making his move now, but he doesn't really have any other choice. Okay, so now I'm taking fire from that smoke, which is undoubtedly the enemy Kiev. Of course, I do have radar at this point, so it was not the best move on his part to start firing at me, so radar up. There's the Kiev. Shots out. Unfortunately, I misjudged it a little bit. I only do 1 damage. He's reduced to 185 health, and my teammates are able to secure the kill. If I just led him in front of his bow, I probably would have finished him off myself, and that would have been kill number 4. But I do have a good chance to shoot at this New Orleans here. So shots out on him. And that is kill number 4. I do a Citadel, I get the Confederate Award. And that is kill number 4. There's only 1 enemy ship left, so I do have a chance of getting a crack in here. But on the other hand, I do have my entire team all around me. So this is not going to be very likely that I get this kill. But I am the closest battleship to him, so I do have kind of the best shots against him. But unfortunately, that also means he's probably going to be shooting at me. And he has a lot more health than I do at this point. But fortunately, I kind of predict that this is going to happen, and I turn to starboard a little bit, which makes his shots go wide. And now I can just bow tank against him and try to hang on as long as I can, while me and the rest of the team just pummel this guy into oblivion. So now I'm desperately waiting for my guns to reload as fast as possible so I can get shots off on this guy while the rest of my team continues to pummel him and his health declines rapidly. I fire my rear turret, hoping to wound him some more and do a little bit of damage. I fire my main shells and Kraken unleashed. I get kill number 5, and that's the game. So I do 158,000 damage. I get devastating strike, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, High Caliber, and Confederate. 2,500 base experience points. But unfortunately for me, I've recently let my premium account expire, so that means I miss out on getting 1.1 million credits, 15,000 XP, and 39,000 XP for my commanders. But I'll settle for the Kraken, I guess. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.